is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Woo! Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. That coffee AM got me going, T. I don't know about you, but we'll tell y'all about that a little bit later on the show. But oh man, I am wide awake around here. It is a $2 Tuesday. I don't know. I still haven't quite figured out what we're paying $2 for, T. But I'm actually glad that you're here today, and I'm also glad that you are here, the listener, the viewer, and thank you for making us your first listen and view of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review, because anything else less than that is unacceptable, because we are great. That's just how we get down. All right. So, Ronald Acuna didn't do his thing last night. And I had some issues, T, with this baseball home run derby broadcast. I got some issues. We're going to talk about that. And as far as the Atlanta Falcons, Steve Weiss was popping off about Tyler Algier. We'll talk about whether or not, that's our guy, by the way, whether or not he was right about what's going on with Tyler Algier and his role in the Falcons offense. And last but not least, and for the culture, Kyle Pitts got issues with Madden. We'll talk about, does he have a point or not? All of that coming up. But before we get to all of that, like I said, Ronald Acuna bowed out in the first round against Pete Alonso, of all people. Like, if you're going to lose to somebody, don't lose to anybody that has that New York Mets uniform on. Golly, T, like, I mean, it was a quick exit, for Ronald Acuna last night. It just seemed like he just wasn't quite right, and that's kind of how we've been feeling about him as far as this in the past maybe 25 games or so. He just hasn't been right.
But the thing is, he had 19 home runs. Alonso had 20. That was the same clip that they had in 2019 when he was fine. So right. I feel like the only difference is he met up with his nemesis in the first round versus the semifinal. So when I saw the matchups, when I saw 2 and 7, I was like, yeah, this is probably not going to get out of the opening round, just because of how Pete hits and how he can hit at a clip. And of course, in that situation, probably just needed to get one over in order to move on to the next round. But yeah, to me, it was like we said a couple days ago, I'm not overly concerned about Ronald Acuna Jr. and where he is physically. I still say I believe it's more mental than anything. So yeah, when I saw that matchup, I was like, ooh, it's going to be tough sledding for you, boy.
No doubt about it. And one thing that was tough sledding for me watching this doggone home run derby was the analytics of the bats and home run derbies. It just got on my nerves. I'm just sitting up here like, this is not that situation. No. You're sitting up here saying, well, how much does that bat weigh? And then even Carl Ravage even got to the point where he was just like, so what does that mean? And I'm sitting up here like, yes. What does that mean? And why does that matter that his bat weighs 31 ounces, or this bat is 34 inches long, or this bat is 32 ounces long?
This company manufactured it.
Wow. Right. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. Talk about the home run derby. Have random conversations about each player. Like, give me some quirky stuff. Like, this is supposed to be light and fun, and you up here getting all serious. Every time I hear numbers, I was like, serious. I'm like, yeah. I'm just like, man, that just hurt me, T. I don't know about you, but that thing, it just got on my nerves at that point. I'm just like, dude, shut up.
You had so much fun with that. I mean, you had 3 contestants out of the NL East. A division that is highly contested. That could have been one storyline for you. I mean, I'm sure there were others, but that one comes to mind. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yeah, they really blew it. In fact, I'll be honest. Once Ronald Acuna Jr. was ousted, I tapped out. Because it was
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I just was like, I can't take this. Like, I hope we get better tonight.
We actually hope you tap in to the folks over at Dave T. Tell everybody about what's going on with Dave and how they've been making sure they're checking out Locked On Sports Atlanta. Yes. Check out some of our friends over there, Dave.
Yes, keep it 100. We've all been in a situation at some point in our lives when we were little tight on cash. Maybe you could only afford to put a few gallons of gas in that tank. We know that's real these days, right? and you're wondering how you're actually going to afford to maybe get a gift if you're invited to a shower, well, that's where Dave can help. A friend of mine used to always say there is no stress like financial stress, and that's facts. It's facts. Dave can help you get out of that pinch when you really need it. And listen, hindsight is 2020. You certainly can't change the past, but what if you could maybe get a little help from your future self? Maybe you'd ask to borrow a little cash. Now you can with Dave. Dave is a banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hangups. There's no interest and no credit checks needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch, like I know some people are right now, you need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from the future you. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. And again, your future you will thank you.
No doubt about it. And as far as speaking of what's the future, and tonight, the AllStar Game is going down, and we all know that the Braves have 5 guys who will be there. We got Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, William Contreras, and Travis d'Arnaud. Out of all of these guys, who do you think has the best chance to maybe potentially get that MVP?
I'm going to go with Austin Riley. I'm going to go with the hot hand, the current.
I'm with you on that one. Yes.
And sometimes that reserve, if you will, for an all-star game has something to prove, a little chip on the shoulder about not being selected outright. So I would not be surprised. Of course, it would be a welcome to Braves country because they haven't seen an all-star MVP since Brian McCann back in 2011. I'm like, gosh, it's been over a decade since a Brave won MVP. So yeah, I'm just going to hopefully tip our hats. Hopefully we'll all tip our hats later to Austin Riley as MVP.
You're talking about 27 home runs before the break. That is absolutely ridiculous. He's been just absolutely just killing it on all aspects, from specifically at the plate. And I was actually really excited for him when he got the call to go in saying that he's going to be on the All-Star team. I think it's just a super, super cool thing. And also another little super cool thing that kind of we found out about. Mm-hmm. Instead of if the game ends in a tie, we all know about the debacle several years back, and Bud Selig was like, "Yeah, let's go into extra innings." Oh yeah, that's cool. In an exhibition game that really doesn't mean anything, they're gonna do a home run derby to determine the winner of the game. What do you think about that?
Boy, do I like that. So on the National League side, we get to see potentially, if it gets to a tie, we get to see Acuna again, we get to see Alonso again, and also Kyle Schwarber. And on the American League side, Ty France, Julio Rodriguez, who absolutely killed it. Around ever.
Slow down on the Ken Griffey comparisons, please. Let the man just breathe. Right. Let him play. Right. Calm down.
And he, of course, will be up there with Kyle Tucker should there be a tie. So I love it. I think that is going to be so cool. I mean, I hope that it doesn't come to that. I hope it's just 9 innings and we're done here. But if it comes to it, this is so much better than just flat out extra innings.
Yes. Nobody wants to see more innings in more extra innings in an exhibition game. I promise you that a lot of people will agree with that. No doubt about that. What I think a lot of people will agree with is Kirby Smart is a pretty good head coach, right? I think that's pretty safe to say. But I think that one thing that I thought was interesting in the SEC media days, Lane Kiffin was speaking to that presentation, as they're calling it for some reason. I don't know why they're calling that. All right, presentation. All right, I'm a head coach. I'm Lane Kiffin. That's me. That's a presentation, I guess. So anyway, I think that he referenced Kirby Smart when talking about, because a lot of times a lot of the questions are geared towards Alabama and Nick Saban for a lot of obvious reasons. The guy has a lot of national championships, and I think that when you think about college football coaches throughout the country and being referenced a lot, and I think it was kind of interesting that Lane Kiffin would reference Kirby Smart, and I know for me is. He got his one national championship, but I think that when you got to start to win multiple national championships in order to get into the embedded college football coaches, meaning Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
And I think that Kirby Smart might be on the precipice of being in those conversations, given that, we heard what we heard from Lane Kiffin yesterday.
Right. And I think what also helps that case is when you're consistently in the top 3, maybe the top 5 in a bad year for your recruiting classes, and the number of players you consistently put into the NFL as well. Mm-hmm. So I think he's right there on the cusp of being in that conversation. Even Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach for Missouri, referenced Kirby by way of Todd Monken in the tight ends room. But his reference was that Georgia is that great that nothing except a championship is what the expectation is for them. And when you get to that point where, like, legitimately, because I know Dogs fans before last year were still expecting a championship, but now it is a true expectation in the way that Tide fans and Clemson fans have the same expectation. It feels hitting different. It feels different. And I do believe that's why we're hearing more and more. Yes, you're still going to hear about Nick Saban. Yes, we will hear about Dabo Swinney come ACC Media Days, but you will continue to hear about Kirby Smart the rest of this week because he is becoming that guy.
No doubt about it. And I think that, Kirby, with what he's doing, I think the recruiting thing is huge. Like, he's real big on recruiting, and it's shown. Because, like you said, he's been in the top 3, top 5 recruiting classes for the last, 7 years since he's been there, seemingly, So I think that that's a thing that it really, really matters. And once you get them there, once you get those big boy recruiting class, you actually do something with them and develop them to get them to the point where they actually justify those rankings once you get them in the building. And I think he's done an excellent job of that as well. Now, I think T is something that happened today. The Atlanta Falcons rookies reported, wow, we are very, very close to actual football practice in pads. But there is a rookie running back by the name of Tyler Algier. We'll talk about whether or not that is the steal of the draft for the Atlanta Falcons 2022 draft class. We'll talk about why we feel that way or why not. Stick around. This is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta.